Jeff Schuster is Executive Director of Global Forecasting over at J.D. Power and Associates. He joins us right now. So, Jeff, good morning. Great to have you here.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Is the president right in being upbeat about how his administration has handled the troubled auto industry?
Well, I think there's absolutely reason for optimism in the industry. Things are moving in the right direction. I would call it optimism with a catch because there's still a lot of volatility with the economy and with the overall consumer confidence. So I think there's reason to be optimistic, but I think there's a long road ahead still.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, the president is telling us that, taxpayers will get back all the money that was spent on the auto industry by his administration, some $60 billion. Right now, though, the company, when you look at the value, it's worth about $53 billion. To get the investment back, the IPO has to be worth $66 to $80 billion. Will we ever get the money back, in your view?
I believe we will. Again, I feel optimistic about that aspect of it. I think we're seeing, if we look at it from an industry standpoint, we're seeing progressive recovery in the industry. It's been a bit of a roller coaster this year, but moving in the right direction. And I think as we move into next year and even 2012, we're going to get back to volumes that are much more profitable.
Who is moving the most in the right direction? You've got GM, you've got Ford, you've got Chrysler. Ford, the only one that did not take a handout from the government.
Right. Well, if you look at the U.S. automakers, they're all gaining share on a year-to-date basis. Their share is higher than it was at the end of 2009. In terms of the most share, Ford right now is up nearly 2 percentage points in share at almost 17.5% of the market. So they're showing a tremendous amount of strength and share growth. But GM and Chrysler are both up about 0.5%.
I mean, do you think in 5 years from now, Jeff, we're going to be talking about a relatively strong U.S. auto industry, and these will be the three players still?
I still think it's going to be a strong U.S.-based industry. There's no question the competitive pressure is there. It's real heavy, and that's going to only continue. So we're going to see other players come into the market, Chinese brands, possibly other European brands, Indian brands. But all in all, I think the U.S. industry is set up to be much more competitive than it was going into the recession.
And you are expecting an IPO from General Motors, perhaps Chrysler at this point?
I would expect an IPO. I think it's really going to be critical to have the right timing, and I think right now part of the issue is making sure that the industry is in a true recovery.
What do you think is the biggest risk right now to the players as they kind of reassemble their homes?
Well, I think the biggest risk, as they're looking really to define the brand images that are remaining for General Motors, the four key brands that are remaining, it's keeping those buyers that were in the other brands within the GM family. And Ford's going to be going through that as well with the cancellation of Mercury. All
right. Going to leave it on that note. Jeff, thank you so much. Jeff Schuster, J.D. Power and Associates. Jeff, have a great weekend.